Hey, what's going on, guys? Ben Brewster here at triathletics.com, and today I want to talk about something that not a lot of people have really mentioned, which is really the pros and cons of slow motion video versus looking at regular frame rate video. So, athletes send me video all the time with their iPhones, and a lot of times what I notice is that just their default is assuming that slow motion is better, and so they film everything in slow motion, send me that. And I've gotten to the point where I tell them in most cases I'd actually rather have regular frame rate video because there actually are downsides to looking at slow motion video. So I want to get into that, I want to explain that, and hopefully you guys learn something. So let's start just kind of talking about some of the pros of slow motion video. Like, first of all, it's awesome that you can just bust out your iPhone and get 120 frames per second. I think maybe even 240 frames per second video now in some cases. So that's awesome. Like, a big pro is that it looks really cool. You can see a lot more detail just because of the enhanced frame rate. And you would say, well, isn't that always a better something you'd want? The answer is not really, but we'll get into that in a second. So it looks cool, and in some cases you do want that extra level of detail. It can be very helpful in these cases when you're specifically talking about seeing detail near ball release. So this is the fastest part of the throw, from that position of kind of max layback to internal rotation, and how the hand actually comes through the ball and how the fingers release the ball. So if we're looking at spin, we're trying to establish finger position or wrist position, the degree of supination or pronation, or if the ball is coming off that middle finger last, or it's coming off the index finger, or we're trying to design a curve ball or a slider, then it really is important to be able to see that level of detail. As far as I see it, when it comes to the cons, again, things that people really I haven't seen talking about. The first one is that you really lose the sense of time or the tempo of the throw. So as a coach or as an athlete watching that video, you don't really get a feel for, was that an overly slow tempo? Was that overly fast? Did they kind of rush their way down the mound? It becomes hard to tell when you alter the frame rate, when you alter the time, the sense of time when watching the video. So that's kind of the first thing. You lose the sense of time. It becomes really difficult to spot slow versus fast tempo. Second thing is that you lose the sense of rhythm. So in other words, if there's a hitch, if there's a subtle lag as the arm flips up or it begins to accelerate, or as the hips try to clear into landing, the increased frame rate smooths over these slight hitches, these slight lags, and you don't get an overall sense as a whole, as an entire delivery of how these different body segments actually map together. And so we know that this is a really important thing. The smoothness and the sequencing of the delivery is one of the more important pieces to a high-level delivery. But in slow motion, especially in super slow motion, it makes everything look smooth. It makes everything look prettier than it actually is when watched in full speed. The third con is you lose the sense of intensity, or in the timing of the intensity. Now, this is really easy to tell. If you try to see the difference or spot the difference between maybe an 85% warm-up throw and 100% full speed throw, it's very difficult to tell if you're watching it in 240 frames per second or even slower. You lose this appreciation or the sense of the rotational violence of the throw, or the lack thereof. Again, you're actually losing detail by having enhanced detail, because you're watching it in such a slow, drawn out frame rate. Okay, so just a couple of notes here. Like, you might say, well, why can't I just take the slow-mo video and watch it in full speed? Well, it's a lot more difficult to do that because now you have to take the slow motion video and put it in a video editing software and go 4x, 6x, speed up the video. A lot more difficult than just taking regular video and just pulling out your iPhone and then going through it frame by frame. If I want to be able to see that athlete's positions, then I'll take the full speed video and I'm going to slow it down. I'm going to see the positions that they're getting into, but then again, I can also watch it full speed. So again, counterintuitively, having this excessive level of detail in slow motion video, again, you lose the rhythm, you lose the tempo component, and you lose this kind of understanding when watching the video of the intensity or the timing of the intensity. So you're going to miss a lot as a coach if all you watch is slow motion videos. Because it might be a guy who, hey, he's only really cruising at 85%. He's not really given his all, or the timing of that intensity is not where it needs to be, or his tempo is a little too slow, or there's a lag right here as he opens the hips into landing. You're gonna miss all that if all you look at is slow motion video. So this brings up a good point, which is, well, okay, just to review, when should we use slow motion video and when should we not use slow motion video? What do we do at Tread? In general, what we do is we look at slow motion video, typically as slow as we can get when it comes to pitch design sessions or troubleshooting these spin or these ball release issues, anything that's happening from that window between max layback and up to or just after ball release. So again, this is one of the fastest motions in all sports, somewhere between 5,000 and upwards of 7,000 degrees per second, shoulder internal rotation, angular velocity. So again, it's happening too fast for 30 frame per second video. You're losing a lot of detail. And so again, we will use it in those cases to troubleshoot some issue with an off-speed pitch or with fastball vertical break issue or spin or finger and wrist position, things like that. Just about everywhere else we'll use regular speed video. And just a side note with that, we'll typically like to see both a side view and either a back or a front view when examining video. This is a tip for athletes to submit video to their coaches. It's also a tip for coaches. You want to make sure you're looking at a minimum those two angles, because from a side view, you're really able to see the frontal plane, what's going on in the throw. And from a back or front view, you're able to see what's going on as far as the transverse plane of the throw. So side view is great for seeing the degree of pelvic tilt, back hip or knee position, trunk positioning in the frontal plane. Are they uphill? Are they too far forward? Lead leg blocking angle. Does it have a soft lead leg? Does it have that paw back mechanism? Torso extension, trunk extension, max ER angle. You need the side view to see those things properly, but again, you need the back or front view to see the degree of separation, if their torso is opening early, the degree of external rotation at max flip up or at landing, arm slot or trunk contralateral tilt. So again, if you're not looking at side view and front or back view, you're also missing information there. So again, here's a practical example. This just happens to be a video of Dustin May in full speed, and then again, I'll show you in slow-mo as well. But again, let's watch this through a couple times. You really start to get a sense after seeing it a couple times. You can actually picture his delivery in your mind's eye. You can see the tempo, the rhythm, the timing, the intensity. Right? You start to get an intuitive feel, an intuitive sense of his mechanics watching it through. Where are the leaks? Where are the lags? Now if we look at it in slow motion, right? It looks pretty. It's fun to watch. We can see a lot more detail, but are we actually getting the same sense of what's going on in his body and how he's actually transferring that energy through his body? Right? Is that actually necessary, or is that actually clouding what's going on because it's an excessive level of clarity, excessive level of detail because of the increased frame rate? So in most cases, my opinion, slow motion video, when analyzing a pitcher's mechanics on kind of a daily or weekly basis, actually detracts from the reality of what's going on in the throw. And again, just to finish up, kind of a warning for athletes who, in many cases, with us, we'll give athletes player comps. So we'll find a pitcher who is a very good comparison for what they would like their mechanics to kind of look like at some point. So somebody with similar mechanics, similar frames, similar lever lengths, similar mobility throughout their body. Hey, this guy does these two, three things better than you, and we'll have them watch that pitcher, either pre-throwing, pre-game, spend a couple minutes getting that mind's eye, what they're trying to achieve. We intuitively learn through demonstration. That's a big way that a kid will pick up his throwing patterns in many parts with demonstration, right? You're not giving coaching cues to a 3-year-old. He's watching his dad throw the ball and he's trying to imitate that. We learn through demonstration. That's a big way. And so if an athlete is using that type of strategy and watching a comp to try to kind of give them that intuitive feeling of the timing and rhythm that he's going for, making sure that the athlete's watching full speed game footage of that pitcher, not kind of getting domed up watching slow motion video and really not actually getting this true overall sense of what's going on. So hopefully that made sense, guys. I'd like to hear from you guys what you think. Is slow motion always better, always worse? Do you kind of see it in these areas of gray like I've outlined here? I'd like to know from you guys down below. Let me know in the comments. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, go ahead, subscribe to the channel. Give this video a thumbs up, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you guys in the next video.